never forget your first. But somewhere
Yeah, no,
along the line, like the fifth and sixth, you always kind of get confused about
by the
which
time you're
one's
getting
which.
by the time you're getting 5, you're getting honoraries, and at that point, you're Dr. Shack.
yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, it's like that whole thing in like the Marvel universe where like Bruce Banner has like 7 PhDs. I'm like, man, I know a couple people that got 2, and even then they were like, fuck that. I should have just stuck with the 1. Like
Yeah.
1 sucked enough. Like 2 just sucked even more.
Getting
Imagine
7
getting fucking
implies like
7.
a truly awful job market that was awaiting
Yeah.
Bruce Banner.
I mean, I know most people that go to grad school, myself included, like went to grad school to hide from the shitty economy. Except then I graduated into a shitty economy, so I'm like, God damn it!
Yeah,
like nobody told me.
It's those in-between years of the decades that are the good times, not
Yeah.
the ends. You can't do that to yourself.
So I have 4 friends who went to chemistry. My undergraduate's in chemistry, but I have 4 friends who went to chemistry PhDs because Dow, and for one reason, it was because Dow and DuPont merged. And when they merged, they cut 250 PhD level chemists and flooded the fucking job market to the point where if you had a bachelor in chemistry, you were just fucked.
Yep. Well, I mean, that's what happened to the
that's how you
co-host
become
of
community college professors, I think, right?
Yeah.
That's kind of what happens. You're biding your time, waiting for something else to open up.
I mean, that's what happened to the co-host of my other podcast. Is he graduated law school right into the recession, and it's like there were tens of thousands of unemployed lawyers, and so it's like you graduating towards the top of your class or doing really well in law school is just like maybe you're going to be a good lawyer. It's like, oh, hey, we have like tens of thousands of people to choose from who we know are good lawyers. Like, get fucked.
Yeah, we have no idea what's actually going to end up happening.
I mean, it's like being a draft bust, right? Like, you know, it's like, you know, somebody's like good in college. It's like, hey, they might be good in the NFL. But imagine if like 10 NFL teams folded tomorrow. Like, who's getting drafted next year? It's like, no, fuck that. Like, we can just draft like the star players or take the star players off these other tems.
Are you saying
like,
not too many James Robinsons are going to come out? Writing on my resume, I will be your team's Chris Carson. Just give me a chance.
Man, Chris Carson is barely being his own team's Chris Carson.
I was about to say.
I mean, he did all right for me. I have him in fantasy on one team, so like
let's
he did
see
all
you get
right.
Gator tackled. How you run the next week?
Well, first off, I will always admit that, you know, while I played sports in high school, I was never in danger of going pro. Like there was never like, if I just knew one additional thing or I could do one, like, you know, it's like I could never catch a pass. Like I did not have soft hands. There was no danger of me ever learning soft hands or anything like that.
What sort of creepy environment is it, by the way, when you can have like middle-aged men talking to teenagers, being like, "You got a set of soft hands on you. That's real good."
Oh no, you got the touch.
Yeah,
yeah. I know everything around sport. Let's be honest, like everything around sports and what have you is like either hyper psychosexual or, you know, just some sort of form of, you know, internalized. Like since we weren't also good enough to join the military and kill people for our country, then we have to engage in war metaphors by talking about sports in that way.
I mean, that really is kind of unfortunate about the hyper militarization of sports, because for probably the better part of 30 years, it was just kind of viewed as like a factory worker's way to blow off steam or then make some extra cash outside of like his shitty job that he was working like 14 hours in because his union wasn't helping him out a whole lot. Of course, that's for that standard. Compared to today's standards, that guy, man, living high on the hog.
What a life that guy lived.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it sucks. All I can do is work 40 hours a week and support my wife and our 7 children comfortably.
And and have time to play football on the side.
Exactly.
Like, fuck it.
Exactly.
Oh, what the fuck?
I don't have enough extra time or money to make up for the second to get a real good car. I'm stuck with this old T-Bird. It's real rough these days. I'm really struggling. Do I send my third or fourth kid to college on college that costs no debt a year, or do I buy another T-Bird? And honestly, it's a real pickle. Why I'm Italian.
But you know what? That fifth kid, he's gonna have to work his way through college.
And he can.
He can't. He's gonna have to work every summer. He's coming down to the meat packing plant with me every summer, and he's packing some goddamn meat, and he's paying for his way through Penn State.
And if he also wants to also make textbook money, he has to pick up an extra 5 hours a week, and that's it. But that's a lot.
I do really enjoy just the nostalgic time periods, because as fun as that is, that was also, I think, probably when the Penn State door knocking. Do y'all remember hearing stories about that? Like when random college kids would just get like too drunk on campus, couldn't find their way to their dorms, so they would just bust into houses that surrounded the campus and fall asleep on the couch. So residents just kind of got used to regular home invasions taking place at odd hours.
If you do that in Penn State in the old days, it's funny and a story. If you do that as a Denver Broncos backup quarterback,
yeah, it's not as cute anymore, right?
It's a literal Chad move. Like that is.
No, we get these emails like at least prior to sending all the kids home because they stupidly decided to reopen campus for COVID.
That sounds like the worst sequel to Campus for Christ, by the way.
Campus for COVID.
Welcome to Campus for COVID.
No, we would get these emails like once, like usually every weekend. It'd be like potential dorm invasion. It's like, and then you read the report, and it's like, describe assailant walked into the room, stood there for a few seconds, and then left.
Yep.
At like 2:30 in the morning or 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, dude was drunk and didn't know where he was.
Yeah, that's not a problem.
Yeah, if it was a real crime, it wouldn't be reported on campus. Am I right? Am I right, ladies?
There it is. There it is.
Oh man. Well, let's see. I guess if we wanted to, we could kind of let people know what's going on, but I don't really feel like that until next week when we're actually on the official Not Safe for Wonks network, and then we can kind of go full blazing steam ahead. So in the meantime,
plus I don't even know what's going on. So I'm just an idiot sitting here. So
yeah. Well, I mean, like. We're trying to slowly but surely convince you to join up consistently and regularly. One of us. And the blood moon again. That's what we're going for here. But the in general idea of what we were wanting to try and focus on is doing something that is a little bit more long form. So probably in about 10-15 minutes or so, we're going to meander our way into doing a deep dive on a particular topic that might be pulled from the headlines. It might be something that, kind of struck our fancy. We'll give you all a little bit more details next week. This is honestly just kind of a prototype run. And so it'll be fun. But the name of the show has changed. The aesthetic of the show has changed. The link tree has changed, all of that stuff. So you guys better get used to it, I guess. It's kind of
my lack of a background hasn't changed, though.
Yeah, exactly. It's the same show, okay, just with new bells and whistles attached onto it. And we're trying to make sure that we can seemingly go legit for people as that takes off. Now,
no guarantees about that. First off, I've never been legit a day in my life, and I don't plan to start now.
He says at the PhD.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh no, I have conned my university into awarding a Polish
That
man
is like the most
PhD.
Trumpian type response I think in the world. I'm not like the other members of the ivory tower establishment with their PhDs. I'm just like you.
I had to slave my way into my PhD.
That's right. I mean, I've just been doing like the classic white male thing of failing upwards
Mhm.
and just falling ass backwards into every next level of achievement. So, it is what it is.
I mean, as it's shown, I think probably in sports management more than anywhere else, that strategy can work out pretty well for you. So
Yeah, I mean, I'm the Adam Gase of
No,
academics.
give yourself some fucking credit, man. Like, you didn't have
Do
a
you
Peyton
need help?
Manning.
Are you okay? Are you having self-harm thoughts? Gabe, there is a light at the end of the tunnel. You are not Adam Gase. You are not a waste of space. You are not absolutely pointless and someone who should definitely consider what is ultimately their effect on this world, if it is ultimately a good or evil. I say that knowing that he's also a parent to a child. So
that doesn't mean somebody's not a shitty person. Like,
no, I'm saying I'm taking that into account. I'm wondering whether or not. Okay, we all know the Gase effect of athletes. Like after Adam Gase, they excel, right? Like, what if Adam Gase gets divorced from his wife and the kids' grades go up? And suddenly, I don't know why it took until Timmy was 4 for him to learn how to walk, but the second you left us, all of a sudden he's sprinting around everywhere.
Well, what if it's the exact opposite? What if him being an NFL head coach means he's never at home, so his kids are doing really well, and so then if you fire him, you are doing direct harm to his wife and child or children.
I really am now kind of just picturing, something I want to say, probably, like Adam Gase's wife going into some NFL general manager's office hoping to cut a deal so her husband can secure a job, but in reality it's again just so her kid can keep on being like a piano savant or something.
Don't send look, I will give you 40 knitted sweaters. Do not send Adam home. He tries to parent, he earnestly tries, but for some reason right in to block every single time.
Can you imagine what Adam Gase must be like at like Thanksgiving dinner? Like if you're Adam Gase's cousin, you're just blowing his Thanksgiving football team out like 53 to
12. He doesn't pass anything.
Oh god!
Keeps demanding that the grandparents play in the football game instead of like the 19-year-old sophomore who's coming back home from college with the fresh legs. Who knew?
I took a chance this week. I am so as I like to do with my bench is I like to pick up people that I think might appreciate and value that I can then unload onto unsuspecting suckers.
Yeah,
back to the waiver wire.
Yeah, either unload them back to the waiver wire. Although this year has played off. I am so far 4 for 4 on my pickups, appreciating and value, and then being able to entice people into trades.
And yet you don't enjoy a dynasty league. That's entirely what dynasty league football is all about.
I don't know, but I decided to pick up Jeff Smith from the Jets in the insane off chance that maybe the chaotic energy that is the NFL and Adam Gase, that he will suddenly, this undrafted free agent wide receiver will somehow turn 2 or 3 games of double-digit performances, and then I can actually sell him off for an actual wide receiver 3.
Meanwhile, your team is getting blown the fuck out, but you're thinking about that amazing upside.
Hey, man, it is what it is. I mean, I picked up Robert Tonyan last week and sat him on my bench.
The steal. One of the leagues I'm in, I picked up Tonyan. I was like, there's no way he's going to do well. And then I was down by like 30 points, and all I had was Tonyan left to play, and I was like, there's no way. oh well, it was a good run, and then he scored 33 in the scoring settings
Mhm.
the league had. So it was just
I'm in a 24 league head-to-head tight end premium league.
oh shit.
And
Jesus.
yeah, so every week you get payouts based on if you win or not. And I have Jonnu Smith as my tight end.
Nice.
And that was not a good, talking about our topic, that was not a great thing. And I started Robert Tonyan in a desperation play,
Yeah.
and I won by 1 point.
Hell yeah.
That's the way to do it. I don't know why, like, I get so much more anxiety and stress from winning my fantasy games by like a point or less than I do like watching my favorite teams play. I'm like, yeah, whatever. I was like, oh, San Francisco's getting blown out. Yeah, I don't really give a shit. Like, fuck, I'm getting blown out. God damn it.
Because
Okay,
you're
come on.
responsible.
On one hand, that's because you might be getting blown out. That's more recent. When's the last time San Francisco got blown out? That's like 2.5 years ago, Gabe.
True.
Watch. If San Francisco starts getting blown out now this season, I have a feeling it'll start to affect you a little bit on the inside.
Wait, what's worse, losing 20 points in the Super Bowl to the Chiefs or losing the Eagles this year?
I don't know. I think it has to be still the Chiefs, just barely, because the Eagles could make it seem just a little bit better in retrospective.
I mean, if we want to talk about narratives and long form and whatnot, I would say that it's the Super Bowl for a simple reason, and that is because just like how Andy Reid for years had the narrative that he couldn't win a Super Bowl, Kyle Shanahan is responsible for the 2 biggest Super Bowl choke jobs in history.
Yep. I'm really hoping that that's actually who he is deep down on the inside, because how great would it be if just like he keeps going to the Super Bowl like every other year, and then he keeps choking every year. No lead is safe.
I mean, we've already proven that the Falcons are the choke job team. Maybe it's a virus.
Yeah.
Maybe
Oh
it's
God.
infectious.
Oh God. Well then.
I mean, maybe it's Matt Ryan. That's the problem.
Yeah, definitely, regular MVP caliber performances every other year from that guy. He's the real issue here.
I was watching Monday Night Football.
Why?
And they did because it was the only thing that was on, man. Like, I don't know. So I'm like watching Monday Night Football, and they had this graphic for Matt Ryan, and it was like it showed like all of his MVP trophies. It was like this dumb like CGI room. It was like a children's room with all these sports trophies in it. And it's just like him sitting there looking all pouty, and it's like an empty space for a Super Bowl trophy. I'm just like, yeah. And it's like, and then they mentioned all the other great players who have like never won a Super Bowl but won MVPs and all that stuff. I'm like, yeah, man, sucks, dude. You ain't gonna win one.
I mean, it's like the old Timmy Turner's dad thing. It was like, this is where I'd keep my Super Bowl trophy if I had one.
Well, I mean, I
Matt Ryan's only 35 years old. He still has 6 good seasons left. If we're going by the
Yeah, but how many of them were with Dan Quinn?
Yeah, see,
exactly. As long as he doesn't re-sign with the Falcons, he might be all right.
Can you
I mean, he
imagine
could take-
him just being like some second or third stringer that goes to the Super Bowl? Starting quarterback, whoever it is, gets hurt. It's his time to shine in the second quarter. All the pressure is on him. My God.
I would sign if I were him. I'd sign with New England. Like that's.
I would too.
Bill Belichick would be foaming at the mouth over Matt Ryan right now?
Yeah, prototypical pocket passer, and Cam Newton has played already in these limited games. Cam Newton's played well enough to get a more expensive contract than I think most people even expected.
He also got COVID with the Patriots too.
Yeah,
so
but
that might sour his overall New England experience just a tad.
But he could go literally anywhere that needs a quarterback. Like, he could be the Washington football team's quarterback if they accidentally.
He probably will be. Like, I mean, at this point,
they need
Ron
one.
Rivera and Cam Newton reunite.
well, I mean, as crazy as that sounds, like Dwayne Haskins isn't making even probably top half backup quarterback money. even.
Yeah,
and
and-
neither is Kyle Allen. So why
And
not?
They're playing in a bad enough division where they could accidentally win some games and disqualify themselves from any of the top three. You know, Trey Lance, who's the bottom, by the way. I don't want to, just because I mentioned it first, he's not the top.
Wow.
Justin Fields or Trevor Lawrence.
You really went reverse order with that. My God.
I did.
Hey, are you trying to goad Trevor Lawrence into like a 500-yard passing game? Is that what it is?
He's on one of my Devi teams, so yes.
Well, I'm not going to say that he's anyone's Trey Lance, but Trevor Lawrence is okay. Let's see how he would do with the talent of North Dakota State University around him.
I thought Dredd tried to tell us he wasn't a gambler.
I'm not a gambler, but I play a lot of dynasty leagues, and like that's somehow different.
And
Yeah,
also,
it's so different.
how's that FanDuel lineup looking each week?
I somehow went over even with that terrible line. I go just over even every week.
How much, by the way, like how excited were you that the 1 week that you couldn't bet on Calvin Ridley is the 1 week he lays the goose egg? He was like your secret sauce for so many lineups. I remember you talking about him.
For the first 3 weeks, I threw Calvin. Like, I mean, so I'll be very candid. I don't play a lot. I used to play draft, and when draft got bought out by FanDuel, I just migrated my balance. Mm-hmm. And so that's all the funds I had. But I had like $50 and I played, I'm up to 150. Nice. But like, yeah, so like it's not life changing or anything, but like,
give it time. It's a net.
So you don't gamble in the same way that Baccarat is not gambling. Like it's like, oh, I get to pick which person's going to win this hand.
Yeah.
Yes, it's like what is it from Bloodsport? Kimote? Like, yeah, it's just MMA fighting. That's all it is.
I don't do line betting. I don't really do. I haven't done props in a long time. I used to have a period of time. So I have. I'll share this. I have both has what's called the gambler's fallacy, which is I believe in streaks, or in the moment I believe in streaks. So if I'm on a hot streak, I'll keep playing, and I believe in probability. So if I'm down on my luck, I'm like, oh, I'm due one. But I also used to cheat a lot. So the last time I was in a casino was for a bachelor party, and we all got $200 to start, and I'm like, $200 isn't enough for me to play with. So I went to the blackjack table and I counted cards for a little bit, and I brought that up to $600. Nice. And then I went over to play poker, and throughout the night I was down to $110 up to $1,700, and I lost like $500 because I got dragged away from the table.
That's right. Those are good friends. I thought it was going to end with so I went to the ATM of the casino, decided to cash out my entire bank account balance in the hopes that this would be the big one for me.
So I didn't bring my debit card that night.
Okay, well, good.
That's the correct.
I'm like surprised at the casual mention of counting cards. Like, that's not something you just like happen upon.
Well, I mean, like one of the great things about Vegas is a lot of the
counting cards.
A lot of those Vegas casinos they'll do single deck blackjack nowadays, which is
if you have a full table, then it's like easier. But it's still like, yeah.
Well, I think it's one of those things that I think the reason they started doing single deck blackjack is because people started thinking they can count cards, and they'll show up and they're like, yeah, I got this, and they're just like, it's like, all right, it's not working out right now.
About what's called a cold streak. I'll sit at the table another couple rounds. That's what happens, right? When you're counting cards, you go on a cold streak of counting cards. You're not wrong. You're just trying to figure out the kinks here.
That's what they call fading yourself.
I wouldn't be able to do it anymore, and I wouldn't try. It's been since the end of college. Like I did a lot of interesting stuff towards the end of college. Like,
oh yeah.
I was a bartender for a while, taking over a job for my friend at a Ruby Tuesdays and at a cash-only dive bar because he got his girlfriend slightly pregnant. Like
slightly pregnant, like she miscarried, I guess. Like is that
triplets, but the number went down?
It's like
someone else said it.
He was Orthodox Jewish and she was very Catholic, and so they had to make it look as close to 9 months as possible from the wedding.
Nice.
So
nice. That's
So
where
he
you
did
say
it- he
my
did it to
secret
the-
wife all of a sudden instead
Yeah,
of my
exactly.
girlfriend. They're like, well, what do you mean by that? Be like, well, we got married 3.5 months ago.
So I assume they had sex through a hole in the sheet, and then my question is afterwards, did he go up to her? He's like, "Hey, do you want to eat some shellfish and smoke cigarettes too?"
I will say I did once make him, in his words, the least kosher burger of all time, and he enjoyed that. So I worked as a cook too, and I used to make stuffed bacon cheddar burgers.
Nice.
And wrapped with bacon, and that was his favorite meal. So
Dusted with shrimp powder.
yeah, a little bit.
It's just
But,
lines of shrimp powder like cocaine on the side of a plate.
the statute of limit.
Just like snorting them through rolled up pieces of the Torah, just like
The statute of limitations has expired on this. So
Hashem is with me.
So he worked at two bars. He worked at a cash-only dive bar, which actually was a lot of fun, by the way. It was a wonderful bar. The only special they had was $1.50 Jenny's. I don't know if anyone here knows Genesee's, but they're the worst beer of all time.
Oh yeah. Wait, is this in like the Midwest or like New York
so
area?
it's in the part of Massachusetts where New York sometimes creeps down.
There it is. Okay.
And but the specials were two Jennies for $5. Now you may notice that math doesn't add up. It's $1.50 or 2 for $5. So if somebody ordered the 2 for $5, they were either some yuppie like coming in and thinking like, oh, this cash only dive bar, great. They were very drunk, or they were trying to give you a tip. So that you just didn't take a tip off that. It was just like 2 for $5, here's the tip. But I got paid in wads of cash, just like randomly at the end of the night. And it was still less sketchy than the Ruby Tuesdays I was working at.
Oh, hell yeah.
So that Ruby Tuesdays was on a hiring freeze. And my friend was going to come back afterwards because he was going to grad school and he was going to keep doing bartending work. And so they said, basically, they couldn't have hired a new person without at all, and he was leaving, so they had to they would just cut his weekly check, void it, and pay me the cash. And makes you wonder why they were on a hiring freeze.
Hell yeah.
Well,
Those people were dumb as fuck.
oh, come on. This isn't a Bennigan's. We can't expect such a high clientele taking place right now. Oh, man. Well, very cool, y'all. I am going to go ahead now and try to figure out, I guess, what all we're talking about. Has everyone gotten a chance?
Well, I think the story is the fact that the Titans might miss a fucking second game due to COVID.
Yeah. I had to add that in at the last minute here. So here, let me go
What
ahead.
do you mean? You wrote like a full breakdown. You mean that's the end?
Yes.
Okay.
No. Yeah. Give me just a second to try and do some ridiculous, stupid style recording and vocal stuff here. So
I have some observational analysis for the Titans, by the way.
okay, all right. Do you want to fire that now, or do you want to wait?
I'll leave it up to you. I am a simple humble servant of the pod.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and just wait 1 second on that. So let me try and do it here. Hey, everyone. Welcome to Sports Change Us. I'm one of your hosts, Kelton, and I'm joined this week by my co-hosts, Gabe and Mitchell. How's it going, y'all?
Fantastic, my man.
Yeah.
It's a new week, same old Mitchell,
It's a new podcast, even to some degree. But there are familiar faces with us, not to worry whatsoever. We have Dread in the building, in his house. How's it going, sir?
Constant misery.
That's I think how we can really know that we have the right attitude for this show, is that we're wanting to dive in and really explore each other's psychoanalysis of sports, right? It's a good headspace to be in here. So this show is a little bit different than the previous iteration of Sports Radio 1917 in the sense that we are wanting to do a deep dive into one story or one topic each week and explore a little bit around that topic. There's a lot of cool things that surround sports, a lot of things that connect it to the more human side, witnessing the actual beings behind the athletes, underneath the jerseys. And so I think it will be interesting as we move forward. That being said, though, I think that probably the story that I both wanted to cover the most and the least is the one that came into the forefront this week, and that is the Tennessee Titans cannot stop tripping over their own dicks when it comes to COVID.
No, it's not their dicks. It's Mike Vrabel's dick because he cut it off to beat the Patriots.
Just a devil's bargain he made. He thought that would mean he would win the Super Bowl if he made a deal to beat the Patriots, but unfortunately, just got him to the championship game. So, let's get a gauge for where people are at with things. What do y'all know about the Titans' timeline and of the NFL outbreak? How familiar are y'all with it?
So, from a science perspective, from a little bit of a science nerd here, the Titans outbreak shows me exactly what we already knew about the virus, and that is that the incubation period and the asymptomatic transmission is a much more serious thing than I think the NFL was prepared for. Because every couple of days you get a trickling new case, which means people that are testing negative one day with the quick tests, which are the effectively the rapid response tests, which have a relatively high rate of false positive. They don't have a high rate of false negative. No, by the way, for anyone listening, when I say relative high rate of false positive, I'm talking like 3%. Now, I'm not talking about like conspiracy theory numbers. I'm like
96% of the tests come back.
Christ. Okay, Alex Jones.
What they're doing is they're trying to get some of your brain tissue by putting that all the way back pharaohs of old.
But everybody who tests positive for the rapid response test then has to take the full test, which is effectively for the NFL. For us normal people, that could take anywhere between 3 days, and by the time you get it back, you're already dead. But for the NFL, it's basically an overnight test. But what we're seeing is a lot of people are passing, so they're not getting a positive on the rapid response test one day, and then they'll show up 2 days later after having been in contact with somebody that had the same pattern before.
Mm-hmm. And it's going to be, I think, incredibly hard for people to control and to kind of see what happened here, because as it stands right now, we have the Titans, the Chiefs, and the Patriots all exhibiting or having people on their roster that are exhibiting symptoms. And that is to go without saying that we don't know who amongst the Vikings will probably start testing positive and who just in general might be next, because we just don't know how well all of the tracing is actually occurring in the NFL. So let's go ahead and dive in a little bit to the timeline to figure out kind of where things started. And we have to rewind the clock way back into the pre-first debate era of time in our lives.
So I just want to say what I think really happened here is I drafted AJ Brown. He goes down with a knee injury, and then when he looks to return, the Titans start testing positive for COVID and miss at least one game, potentially two. So that's my understanding of the timeline. I think that started about, let's be honest, beginning of the season, I think is when this all started. So if I hadn't drafted AJ Brown, I think the Titans would have been in the clear.
Well,
I drafted Derrick Henry, so we got the double up there.
I was about to say, you're taking Derrick Henry not into factor there, Gabe. That's kind of a huge deal. It's important for Derrick Henry owners to say, well, he definitely would have maintained the same rate of production if not for COVID. Oh, man.
That's what I'm going to be selling in Dynasty for.
So let's go back to September 21st, which is when the Titans signed a defensive back to their practice squad named Greg Mabin. And he was signed to go ahead and just add depth, because that's what you need on your practice squad. And there are, of course, procedures for bringing in a free agent due to the pandemic, and there are rules in place. But the actual COVID incubation period, as Dre was mentioning, can last anywhere between 2 to 14 days. It seems like the NFL kind of took the 2-day concept and ran with it. And in reality, it looks like it's probably closer to the 14-day period.
Well, I think this is the
honest.
I think this is the problem, and we're seeing this with NFL. We're seeing this with the university campuses opening and like trying to have football and all this stuff. Is basically the NFL and everybody else started with, well, we're going to play a full season, we're going to reopen campuses and play college football or whatever. It's like they started with that's the answer and then worked their way backwards.
But it is the answer, Gabe. Don't you know? Governor DeSantis over in Florida just signed the approval for full capacity stadiums over there. It's a joy. It's great.
Yeah, I mean, it's literally so like they, of course, like if you start with like how you're going to do it and then you have to work your way backwards, all of a sudden you run into issues of like, okay, well, the incubation, if we do 14 days, well, fuck, that means the Super Bowl is going to have to happen in September of next year if we were to do this as safely as possible. Well, if we want to have it happen the first weekend of February, as we always do, or second weekend of February, or whatever it is, it's like, well, 2 days. 2 days is good. That's good.
Yeah.
Like,
so I think
that's all the time they need.
Yeah, right. I think that actually what we're seeing here validates, and once again, this is like some conjectures, and this is based on like this is evidence based. It's not just like nonsense I'm pulling out of the house, but it is conjectures. Once again, I'm not a team doctor. I don't have any access to information that anyone else doesn't have. But based on the pattern we're seeing, spreading events are happening inside locker rooms, and they're pernicious. So because of that.
Are you saying that maybe having 54 grown men all cooped up together in one room might be the worst thing possible for the spread of this?
No, I'm not saying that, because if I was saying that, then we'd have to dive into should the NFL season be happening at all. But
I forget you are a Derrick Henry owner. My apologies. His shelf life is just falling off by the day.
Please. But the other thing I would say is that so far, and once again, we don't know yet about the Chiefs and the Vikings, but at least, multiple days out now. It's Thursday out, and we haven't had a huge outbreak on the Chiefs. The Chiefs did have a positive player earlier, but that was the practice squad quarterback they brought up.
Excuse me, sir. You mean XFL superstar of the St. Louis Battlehawks, Jordan Ta'amu. Excuse me. One of the most proficient and efficient players in the storied history of the XFL. The Russell Wilson of the XFL decided.
Wait, is this the guy who taught himself how to play off of YouTube?
Yeah, I think so. And honestly, I think him being the Russell Wilson / Cam Newton / mobile quarterback, Lamar Jackson of the XFL, was why the Chiefs hired him in the first place, so that they could get practice against a quarterback that can run. Well, the point that I'm making there is that as of yet, we haven't seen huge explosions in the Vikings. So it is very possible that inter-team spreading out on the field, out in the outside, is at least limited. Meanwhile, if there's any introduction, so if you have a player who just a lot of the players are rich enough that they can afford effectively hermetically sealed apartments where they just play Fortnite all day. But your practice squad guys don't have that.
What a life. Yeah.
That's the external introduction of COVID means your entire locker room could go down.
Exactly.
So what does the rest of the timeline look like?
Oh, well, I mean, we can dive into it here. Sorry. We're on the first day. So 3 days later, on September 24th, Maben actually tests positive. And so then he was immediately placed in protocol. And that's when Coach Mike Vrabel said that he was removed from the building and quarantined. So, hey, everyone's going through their protocol on the Titans. That's the important thing to focus on here. What Vrabel is talking about. We can trust this man, okay? Nothing will ever come back in the cruel sense of karma, come back on that statement whatsoever. So
in a cruel sense of karma.
2
I'm a
days
little early
later,
on that.
then Titans outside linebacker coach Shane Bowen tested positive. So once they got his test on the Titans, Bowen didn't make the trip to Minnesota. So, yay, I guess. Good for them. For saying
But everyone he was in contact with did.
yes, and so then the Titans travel to Minnesota on the 27th, the very next day, and Vrabel's going to be calling the game. So no muss, no fuss. Then holy shit, who the fuck leaked it? September 28th, news breaks of Bowen's positive test. So someone alerted the press that hey, our coach that was right there with us, he tested positive 2 days ago, and we're all still going to be playing a game. So that's nice. That's nice. You love to see it. Vrabel commented, "I'd say we followed all the procedures as it relates to COVID. We're following the 100 memos that they've sent out verbatim." Just, excellent pull quotes here that I think we can really it's nice that he's willing to go on mic in front of cameras and reporters and say these sentences to assuage any sense of fear that Titans fans may have.
And then the plot, I feel like the plot thickens from here.
Both the plot and 8 of the players' coughing thickened a little bit when they got 8 positive tests from 3 players and 5 staff members, and all in-person activities at the Titans facility were suspended.
Important to note some wording you just put out there.
Go ahead.
Just as an aside for later, you might have mentioned that in-person activities at the facility were suspended.
That's
and I'm
right.
sure that's how the memo was carefully worded by Mike Vrabel.
Mike Vrabel
Complying
with
with
a
the
team
league
of
completely.
lawyers right behind him.
What do you mean? Mike Vrabel is a team of lawyers. All right, he beat Bill Belichick at his own game. He's gonna.
Zach,
he knows how
cut
to
off
word a
his
memo.
dick.
Yeah,
Right.
Do it.
their lines even Bill won't cross. Okay, that's one of them.
Well, the other possibility is that when they say all in-person activities, that's perhaps what the NFL and NFLPA language says. Like, look, we followed the letter of the law. Did we follow the spirit of the law? Maybe not, but that's not the
Y'all
same
aren't
thing.
asking those questions right now. That's the important thing to focus on.
I mean, the NFL is a long and storied history of cheating, and then them having to come up with rules to be like, no, you can't do that anymore.
I will again, for anyone who's wondering about like, could the NFL really be that just regressive? It wasn't until integrated
be?
college players and college teams were whipping the shit out of NFL teams that they considered integrating NFL teams. Like that is the league as it stands. That is in the bones there. It is not going to try and change with the times unless absolutely forced to. So the one thing though that I wanted to mention at this point is that we were 2 days into the next week of the NFL season as it was taking place. So the Steelers, they were getting ready and preparing just like they were going to be playing the Titans that week. So they were crunching film. They were doing all of the things that they needed to do. And I feel like a discussion should probably be had, or at least could be had, about number one, just what the benefit of having a bye is to a team, because it helps you get healthy, but also the idea of actual rest, because you're not having to game plan and you're not trying to think about what's going to be happening next. And to just rip that away from a team a week too early is a hell of a thing to do on the NFL's part. That's
Also, they didn't even give it to them, like they didn't tell them early enough in the week either. So like fundamentally we're at a record breaking pace for soft tissue and non-contact sports injuries in football this season. And if you had told the Steelers, don't prepare this week, don't practice this week, and we're going to give you a wicked early bye, like that's one thing.
yeah.
But you didn't. You had them practice 2 days and then said, actually, you're just not playing this day.
Exactly. I mean, and the whole trickle down effect is that there are people who were burning the midnight oil, just reviewing your own game footage the second your game is done, and it's on to the Titans and trying to push forward and trying to figure out getting all the stuff from them and doing all of the required. I mean, the list could just go on and on and on, but so it as much as I want to say that really sucks for the Steelers, the Titans at this point in time, they're starting to get news of additional positive tests within their facility. So they close everything and put a halt to all in-person activities, which is, an interesting, again, choice of wording, right? That they're halting all in-person activities.
At the facility.
It's really nice to know that Kirk, if I die, Cousins is halting all in-person facility activities over there. So it's wild. Then the very next day, on September 30th, an outside linebacker for the Titans tested positive, and he said that and Mike Vrabel reassured everyone was required to wear a mask, that he's hoping that the players will feel better shortly. Nobody's to blame, the Titans coach said. We're in a pandemic. Unfortunately, these things happen. So
says the man to blame.
Yeah. So I just want people to know that from September 24th to September 30th, it went from we are going to follow the protocols. This is not that big a deal. We will move past this to, well, sometimes shit like this just happens, What am I supposed to do about it? It sounds like a question for the head coach, and I'm just the simple defensive coordinator. That's the hat I'm wearing right now. Talk to me at 7 after a team of lawyers has talked to me. That's when head coach Mike Vrabel will be on the phone. On the flip side of things, though, Minnesota reopened its facilities and then it continue to have enhanced protocols. Everyone's testing negative, at least on the Vikings at this point, doing this quick test that Dredd was talking about that take about 20 minutes for them, which is just a great turnaround that these professional athletes are able to have. Be incredible, if we could get the same level of turnaround time available to us. But
I mean, first off, you need to be worth potentially millions of dollars in salary, and then absolutely, or like the idiot president of the United States, and then you will absolutely get the best medical care possible.
And as a note to anybody out there who's like, oh, but I can get a test, the test that you're getting if you're getting a rapid response test is an antibody test. So the rapid response test available to the general public is a generalized antibody test that'll test to see if you have active antibodies in your system, which means if you had the corona, if you have the corona.
Yeah, if you have the corona. It is the Rona.
If you had the Rona recently enough, or if you had antibodies exposed, you could even just been exposed and not have ever actually incubated it long enough to actually develop symptoms whatsoever. You might still have be a positive on that. On the other hand,
about the flu, every on Facebook is talking about that.
Different antibodies. So what the rich and powerful have in terms of rapid response is a slightly different. It's a enzymatic rapid response test that specifically looks at chemical markers that show up, and instead of looking for specifically antibodies, they're looking for for basically a roughshod job of the active disease.
That, and I also, utilizing stem cells and just the blood of young children to make sure that
Jimmy Full, plump me up, baby.
I wonder if I know there was a shortage of reagents, and that hasn't.
Sorry, I'm just picturing Trump squeezing a 6-year-old like a bag to just keep pumping through.
Mad Max thing. Witness me,
exactly.
Put the kid.
Exactly. Witness me. Yes. I mean, he did come out with those really white lips, so potentially he was huffing paint before he came out.
I mean, I don't know
which I'm not gonna say is bad if you have the Rona, but I don't know that it's good.
My favorite bit is that well, yeah, just go straight up there, bright and shiny. But my Alex Jones, for some reason, I keep my head into the reactionary right sphere.
He's hilarious.
He's very funny. But Alex Jones'
Terrifying,
big
but
pre-debate
hilarious.
conspiracy about Biden was that he was, quote, and I'm going to quote this, plumping. And
Nice.
plumping is jamming yourself. It's like what Lance Armstrong did, where he put himself an extra liter of oxygenated blood before doing the Tour de France. And he's like, look how red he is. He's plumping.
I would kill to get plumped. That sounds like I already have
let's be
insanely
honest.
high blood pressure. Like, can you imagine?
Just pop like a tomato.
Yeah, exactly. It'll be one of those things of like Kelton has been sitting here in front of the TV. He has been plumped. The Texans are down by 2 points, and they are at the 40-yard line.
And just streams of blood start leaking out of your tear ducts.
It's some real horror movie type shit. Just trying desperately to hold it together.
Or it's going to be or alternatively, if if the Astros move on to the World Series, it is that like that. I don't know if you guys watch The Boys, but the latest episode where your head just explodes.
That's exactly right. That's going to be what happens to me if those dirty sons of bitches, my hometown team, the team I genuinely do love, even though they're awful, if they somehow keep on making it. Gabe and I, we were talking a couple days ago just how one of our favorite fun bits was the idea of throwing.
I actually don't know that we have enough time to talk about baseball with all this Corona football stuff going on.
Yeah, you're right. We are running a little long on that.
All right, so we're on to September. We're on to September 30th, which is
it's still. I'm sorry. It's still September 30th. On the same day that the Titans coach said, unfortunately,
Jesus
things
Christ,
happen.
what a day!
Yeah. Apparently, some Titans were holding an illegal offside workout at Montgomery Bell Academy, which is, I'm going to assume, a high school field.
It's a high school.
Okay,
Yeah, it's a high.
yeah.
It's a charter school, I believe.
Yeah, I mean, this is obviously in direct violation of everything that the NFL was saying. Although, again, yeah, there we go.
Not direct violation, just direct violation of all the intentions.
Yeah, first off, again, it violated the spirit of the rules, not the wording of the rules.
It has some real like Terminator and T2 energy of just blowing out people's kneecaps because they were it was ordered not to kill anyone, like that's how it feels here. Also, this might also kill people, so who knows? Might be a little bit more accurate of a comparison in due time. One unnamed player had my favorite quote, I think, of all time. Saying there wasn't a protocol for what to do if the building was closed, but we still had a game. They hadn't prepared for what to do if the building was closed, but they still had a game. No one had talked to any of the players about this. That's at least what this player is alleging.
Feels like an oversight.
At best, or it's just a direct lie, which I'm not sure which is worse at this point.
Look, y'all, hindsight is 2020. You can sit there and Thursday evening quarterback this
All right,
whole thing.
What if I were to assuade you a little bit, Gabe? This player was not AJ Brown, so you don't have to keep covering for him.
Fair. Okay, then yeah, this is totally fucked up.
Your direct financial future is not implicated by this player whatsoever.
No, this is insane that they didn't think about this ahead of time.
Yeah, the players were under the impression that it was okay on Wednesday because we had a game still that weekend. That is just...
That doesn't sound like AJ Brown's syntax, so no. I'm going to say that this is totally bullshit.
Yeah. No, I would love it if the reporter was trying to AAVE in the writing, trying to make it make sense. Well, it's just, something that I think is not not a good spot, not a good look for the Titans whatsoever. And it only continued to get worse.
Not a good look for the Titans. Not like, the NFL is totally clear in this either. Like,
yeah.
this is like, let's blame the victim kind of situation.
The NFL is
here.
mad because the Titans got caught, I think, is more what it is.
Yeah, I mean, that's always the truth. That is always the truth.
Isn't that right, Patriots fan 09746?
Yeah, I'm Patriots fan, bunch of numbers, and it's actually just, everybody cheats.
So on October 1st, Christian Fulton and an additional unnamed team personnel member tested positive, and that's what made the NFL have to postpone Steelers versus Titans. Finally, after 7 days of madness that ensued, they just decided, okay, fine, we have to postpone. Meaning we are at almost the 0 hour for these poor Steelers players who kept thinking, oh, fine, we'll be playing on Sunday. Well, then Monday. Well, then Tuesday. Well, now it's actually just postponed indefinitely until your week 7 bye that got ripped.
And didn't
from
a bunch of them just like stay up all night, like trying to figure out what was going to happen, and so even if they did have to play, they were potentially playing on no sleep.
Exactly, because you don't know whether or not you can literally sleep in or get ready for the game tomorrow. Like, that's 2 different headspaces that you have to be in order for that.
It's not great.
No.
So are we into October now?
Yeah. This is October 1st. It's just a great way to kick off the week. The NFL made a decision to move the game to a later date to ensure the health and safety of the players, coaches, and game day personnel. Nice to know that they're truly valuing safety just across the board here. But we had to check back in with Vrabel about what's going on. Because, again, to emphasize this point, he is now aware that there is an off-site practice that took place because he's head coach, and of course he's going to know these things. The report of that event has not come out yet, though. So when he says to the media that the Titans are very confident that we followed the guidelines with the protocol that the league and the Players Association have set forth, that is definitely, I think we can all agree, Mike Vrabel lawyer speak. Completely.
This is Hillary Clinton saying, "Well, what we did wasn't illegal." It's like, what?
This really does have the same energy of why the Clinton campaign distributed that photo of Barack Obama with a turban on his head. Like, oh, okay, yeah, I get it now. So this was a fun fact, and I think some people might not know this, and this delighted me. The NFL Network's Tom Pelissero reported that the same bus driver who drove the Titans to the Vikings game in Minnesota on September 21st was also the driver for Major League Baseball's Houston Astros just days later. The driver, who tested positive for COVID-19, was removed by the Astros as soon as the Titans' COVID-19 outbreak surfaced. So,
honestly, that's my favorite fun fact we've had so far.
So yeah. I feel like what should be happening to like increase the safety for these like bus rides from the hotels to the stadiums is they just get like those like Disney tram cars that are just open air. Because like, if you're outside, it reduces the risk and all that stuff. Or like those London double-decker buses, but everybody has to sit up top out in the air.
All the equipment bags are underneath.
Yeah, exactly. Like
a 13-hour road trip.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, do you want to be safe or do you want to be comfortable? You can't have both.
That beats my idea of just kind of having like an 18-wheeler with those double wide houses, but then you just fill that house with the players inside. Yeah. And you have them move back and forth.
Alternatively, if you have to fly to a game, we teach all of the players as soon as possible how to fly those open cockpit bi-wing planes from like the early 20th century. It's like I think it'll be. What's the worst that could happen?
Well, I mean, the NFL Players Association fought tooth and nail for that because the NFL's original idea was to make every player skydive down into the stadium and then try and get ready for the game that moment because kickoff would be happening in 10 minutes. So,
look, I'm very excited. Once we're done talking about this, I have a suggestion for the NFL that nobody will like, but is important to make.
Well, then let's get through this. What else is happening in?
It definitely means continue the NFL season, right? That's what it is. Okay,
here,
keep going. No notes, just a perfect performance. The NFL is looking at the Titans like Daniel Day-Lewis and Lincoln, just like, man, those were some choices, but I respect you, sir.
Look, the NFL is exhausting every possible option except postponing the season or doing anything smart to the point where, and here's where the bit comes in. One moment.
Okay. Oh my, the lights have lowered. Now it's completely dark. Darkness surrounds the room.
I, Robert Goodell, do summon thee, Zianzabu, demon of the darkness, a.k.a. Billiam Belichick. Come to me, dark demon Belichick, and give me my 3 wishes.
Oh my God! Oh. Well, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. We're that might need to become like a recurring character as the numbers keep going up. Except it's just going to be like
I want to know what his wishes are.
Wish number. Wish number 1. Matt Patricia continues to fail for the t-shirt. I know that would happen anyways, but I want to be sure. Wish number 2. The doctors that discovered CTE get into inconvenient car crashes. Terrible, horrible, strategically tragic car crashes. Wish number 3. I feel like I was supposed to mention something, some sort of global pandemic or, I don't know. Great ratings. Yeah, great ratings.
For a second, I was worried that they were about to say, like, let's please defeat SARS together. That's the important thing.
Well, you don't have to ever worry about Roger Goodell doing what's best for the players or anybody else. Just as long as it is going to make the NFL money, that's what we're going with.
That's the plan, man. That's
why the owners keep him in charge. Like,
it's not that sparkling personality of his, that's for sure.
You mean capitalists supporting capitalism?
My favorite fight ever was between Jerry Jones and when Jerry Jones was having a pissing contest with Roger Goodell over whether Roger Goodell would maintain private jet usages for life after he retired from commissionership. And and it's just like, I'm like, yeah, I guess let them fight, but like it's the saddest let them fight ever.
Finally, a fight that the average working American can relate to.
I mean, and then like this is like all the bullshit is like when they came out, and I think now basically the NFL is like there's going to be serious consequences for any team that ends up being a delayed game or whatever.
Yeah.
I think what they say, like all
form of fines, loss of draft picks, and forfeiture of games.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, this is just the NFL. Like I said before, this is the NFL like blaming people who like the NFL put people in this situation. Like I'm sorry. It's like all the other contact sports that had a season did it in a bubble. like the MLB survived because it's not really a contact sport. Like,
and also they were able to quarantine the entire Philadelphia Phillies and Marlins for like 2 straight weeks. Like they just forced those players to do all double headers for the back half of their season. Not something you can do in the NFL.
What would an NFL doubleheader look like?
Everyone would just be dead.
Hold on. Let's think about it, though. All right. For 1 week, you have to plan for 2 back-to-back games. All right. You get like 70 active roster spots. What do you do?
you pick one game to throw and you play the other game. That's what you do.
Right.
You start just backups for one, and then you play the other one.
You're breaking my heart with your logic here.
Dred. Or alternatively, what you do is if it's a double header, they all congregate at the same arena, and then you just take turns playing quarters. And so it's round robin, whoever wins the quarter.
Every drive, the practice squad every other drive, the practice squad fills in for the, the starters.
I would be interested in that. Like,
yeah, I love the CFL.
If you had like 2 30-minute games instead of 1 60-minute game, can you imagine the madness that would ensue?
Yeah, the Falcons would win every game. You're lopping off the second half. They'd be doing great.
Dred, think about it this way: every half is the second half. What happens to it?
I'm pretty sure the Falcons still aren't like winning first halves. Like even after that Green Bay game, it's like, all right, they can't even win a first half anymore. So
I think their point differential, because of just how badly they trounced Dallas. Shout out to your background. Right. That'll give them a solid point differential for the first half for a while.
Game.
Mike McCarthy visited PFF and became real skilled in analytics, man.
That is the most bullshit thing in the world. That is now, I think, to give people a frame of reference, maybe like in the world of politics or something, that would be like if Joe Biden were to go out and like have lunch with AOC. Like that. That is what the story would be. He's learned. He's supporting the Green New Deal. He's supporting Medicare for all. Why? Because he had lunch with AOC. Mike McCarthy hung out with PFF. He understands analytics. Okay, that's the important thing here.
The thing people can't appreciate about analytics is that once you understand analytics, you're much more likely to take a guy by the name of Terrence Steele and let him go one-on-one versus a guy named Myles Garrett. Because the analytics say that one-on-one matchups are how you win football games. So Terrence Steele one-on-one versus Myles Garrett is analytics 101.
Well,
McCarthyism.
What's even worse is I can imagine him like seriously pitching it. It's like, okay, so we will lose one of our one-on-one matchups on the line, but the odds are we're gonna win the other 3.5. Odds are, so we have to take those odds. Out of 5, that's a winning record.
So what's going on this week? So
I'm sorry.
Are the Titans gonna play a game this week, or?
Well, I don't want us to get too ahead of ourselves here. My apologies. We have to still keep up on October 1st because on the same day.
We're still on October 1st. Holy shit!
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah. That's my fault.
No worries. So on the same day, October 1st, that the NFL issued that memo that you mentioned, Gabe. That was when the NFL also passed around photos of the Las Vegas Raiders players not wearing masks at a charity event hosted by the Raiders' tight end Darren Waller. Players were then fined like $165,000 for their part in this, which is...
I'm sure the NFL did not donate to that charity.
No.
Of course not. Come on now.
And I'm not saying this is somebody who has Waller in my tight end lineup this week.
I mean, it's just interesting because you're seeing that let me try and back up here. If you're an NFL player, you exude this kind of energy to you. So then you're like, I'm going to try and do a good thing for a new community, the city that has adopted us, or I'm going to throw a charity event in Las Vegas. And then you just don't wear a mask and then you invite your coworkers over there. They also aren't wearing masks, and then photos come out about that, and then you get fined because you were throwing a charity event. Like,
so my understanding of like that whole deal was basically they threw a charity event, and like we don't have to litigate the whole thing, but like my understanding was like basically they took their masks off for like a photo op.
Yeah.
And like those are the photos that got circulated around.
Yes.
And it's like,
Look, if you get sick on your time, that's wrong and you're getting fined. But if you get sick on our time because we've crammed you into a locker room with a bunch of other sweaty dudes,
I believe in the words of Mike Vrabel, unfortunately, sometimes these things happen.
so I think the thing is, if you get sick on your time, that's wrong. Now, if you get sick on our time when we've crammed you into a bunch of crowded facilities and planes and buses, that's also your fault.
The one germaphobe player who has like an oxygen mask hooked up to him and just ignoring everyone else.
I mean, if they're not flying and traveling in hazmat suits, like they're gonna get fined.
Just
Maybe
World
even if
War
they
II
are.
era gas masks on
Like
all
this
of
is
them.
this is the situation of like, I'm just here so I don't get fined, of like I'm just here and I'm still gonna get fined. Like
Well, then we have to move forward to October 2nd when wide receivers Adam Humphries and Cam Batson test positive. Now, that's an important note that we need to take here, that now the wide receivers who were playing against the defensive backs and defensive players are now testing positive for COVID. So now, you know, the bye has changed completely. The NFL has rescheduled Steelers-Titans for Week 7. They've now put out another memo saying there's going to be a $50,000 fine for missing a test, and you know, it's
if you
just
miss 2 in a row, you get suspended a game.
yeah, they're really trying to bring the hammer down, and you know, it worked, I guess, right? That's how the response went. Definitely not on
Yeah,
October
the
3rd.
coronavirus stopped existing after. Yeah, well, we're gonna get real harsh on you, kid. You gotta stop having to have the corona.
Because then on October 3rd, this is not now just the Titans. This is expanding now around the league. That is when their defensive end and 2019 first rounder Jeffrey Simmons goes down with COVID. That's when Cam Newton tests positive, and that's when, again, XFL superstar Jordan Ta'amu of the Kansas City Chiefs tests positive. So
all hail Tamu.
yeah, it's just, you know, it's spreading all the way around here. So on the following day, October 4th, that's then when more players, more personnel, team personnel people are getting tested, and then some of them are testing positive. The NFL and the NFLPA asked the Titans to turn over multiple videotapes of team activities so that they could get a better idea of the root of the outbreak, which I'm sure the Titans were just so happy. So happy for them to turn that information over.
So, like, the question is, like, how long is it going to take for those tapes to make it to Pornhub? Because somebody's going to leak them.
Never has a locker room been more excited that Earl Thomas was not on their team than that moment. That was also on October 1st when we were told that Patriots and Chiefs will get moved to Monday. And do y'all remember? It feels like forever ago, but that was when the New Orleans Saints fullback tested positive for COVID, but a retest came back negative, and Alvin Kamara's season was saved and salvaged for that game because he was sitting right next to him on the plane. Which is, you know, just always a joy, you know, to see kind of across the board. So things are kind of in a frenzied state, but then, you know, just like any sort of tsunami, eventually everything settles down. Or I guess a tsunami is probably like the wrong word for it. It's like a hurricane, right, Gabe? Where it's all mess and storm, and then finally it calms down. Then you're good for forever, right?
We're in the eye of the storm right now. It's going to be, I mean, nothing bad happens once you're in the eye of the storm.
I still, at least in Houston, I'll never forget the story about when a hurricane hit Galveston in like 1917 or whenever the fuck it was. But when the storm hit and the hurricane hit, people kind of were prepared at least a little bit. It still caused a lot of devastation. But then when the eye of the storm happened, that was right over the Galveston metro area of the time. And so then people were like, thank God it's over. And everyone came out of the woodwork, and then the hurricane just resumed. And that's when all the casualties occurred. Like, just wild shit. So we're in the eye of it now on October 5th that the Titans have now received 0 positive tests, which is fantastic. And the Chiefs and Patriots are on for Monday night as part of a doubleheader then with Packers versus Falcons. So it's nice. It's allowing Vrabel and his team to now finally start preparing for the Bills, who they definitely will be playing on Sunday. Right? Okay, everyone. That's that level of enthusiasm back that we need. The resounding yes that you didn't hear because I sound gated it out. That's what I'm trying to do.
I don't know about this one, by the way. I don't know about this this whole, let them play thing.
We'll see. We'll see.
Didn't somebody else just recently test positive on the Titans?
Shh, that's not yet.
Yeah. Oh, you sweet summer child. We are only on October 5th, sir. You forget what day it is.
Yeah, shit starts going wrong very early. Just like, vote early, vote often. Fuck up early, fuck up often.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty great right now because then on October 6th, the Titans are receiving 0 positive tests in consecutive days. And Vrabel is making a point that, well, hey, some of the players that need injury rehabilitation, they can't access the facility. This is kind of unfair to them. You got to think about them. Meaning, in Vrabel's mind, he wants those players to go into a compromised environment, possibly, and then get infected. If it means that then they'll be healed up by game time.
Can I read the quote verbatim, by the way, because it's one of my favorite quotes ever.
Sure.
We stayed in contact with all the players that would require treatment, Vrabel said. A lot of them were sent home with stuff. Really confident in Todd that he can do for our players to get them to return. There were some moving parts as related to having injured guys in the building. Then at some point we decided in those last couple of days to keep those guys away. And again, hopeful tomorrow we'll get those guys back in the training room. So I want to just show you a little bit of verbal juggling he did.
Mm-hmm. Go for it. Let's analyze this.
Well, in the participle mixing around, he makes it sound like he's just talking about like non-positive testing COVID guys.
Just real quick,
but he's not.
I need you, as you're breaking this down, I want everyone to envision it's Dredd, but as John Madden, and he's drawing circles around where the prepositions are.
So if you look at here, effectively, Vrabel's doing a little bit of verbal, like sort of verbiage just to think that he's talking about like guys that they were just keeping in contact with that were injured guys. He is briefly and specifically referencing people who were kept away from the facility for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
So he's not just talking about players going back into a compromised facility. He's talking about people that had tested positive at a different time with injuries being returned to deal with those same trainers.
Yeah. And it's not like these Titans personnel people are also dropping like flies all around them either, right? No?
I'm really confident in Todd.
Yeah, Todd does great work. I'm sure Todd really appreciates it.
When does Todd ever let you down?
Yeah. Meanwhile, the Patriots, they have a practice squad defensive tackle named Bill Murray, who they had to put on COVID. So
it's actually the Bill Murray.
Weird, but I mean, like, they admire his gumption. He's an old guy, but he knows how to just defend from a 3-point stance. It's nice.
The wonders of HGH, man. All old people should be on it.
Mark Cuban would like to call you.
Just imagine like the Chive having a heart attack as they see a headline saying Bill Murray test positive for COVID. Like, no, our entire brand, it's about to go up in flames. Oh no! What will gas station stoners look at on their machines now? It'll be awful. And also, I should probably mention the Packers, which I'm not going to say that making this decision is in any way tied into the fact that they are one of the few organizations that is directly held accountable to the population surrounding the stadium because of the partial ownership that does exist. And so the feeling of accountability that comes from their chief executive officer. But they placed an indefinite hold on fans attending games at Lambeau Field because of an increase in COVID cases in the Green Bay area and throughout Wisconsin, which is a remarkable decision, again, when compared with what's existing in Florida. And DeSantis basically saying, like, Tom Brady's on the Bucs. He's good. Come on, everybody. Let's play. ACC forever, baby.
I just want to remind us, just to build on that, any team that is in a state where the government, which is supposed to be making regulations to keep people from getting hurt, but anyone who's in a state that is not, currently has some level of fans in there, except the Green Bay Packers. They are the only ones who, for some reason, some ownership difference, I wonder what it could be, some type of collectivism, one might even say, is not like just, oh, yeah, I guess we really need to fit 40,000 people into the Jacksonville Jaguar Stadium this week.
I want you to imagine, Dredd, on one hand, though, what the collective ownership of the Jacksonville Jaguars building would look like. What
Right,
that meeting would exist.
So for those that don't know what the
That's
Green Bay
God's
Packers
country.
ownership structure looks like, they are a publicly held non-for-profit that owns the Green Bay Packers. So just in case anybody didn't know what was going on.
Yeah. They do have an old white guy at the head, and I believe he comes from like Northwestern, if I remember correctly. Yeah. That was where he was at before. But he definitely serves as kind of like the guy who is put in charge, but the second he fucks up, then the collective whole will then make a decision. Yeah. And the community will decide his fate. Throw him into the great volcano of Wisconsin or something.
In college, I dated a girl whose father was part of that strange blabbering mass of Packers ownerships, you know? She had season tickets and everything.
I would hope if he was a partial owner, that would really suck. It'd be like, they give me a parking space, but no tickets yet. Just
yeah. The one thing that you all don't know is that like all the seats say owner's box on them.
Can you imagine being on Tinder? Just being like, yeah, I mean, like my dad's like a partial owner of the Green Bay Packers. It's not that big a deal, I guess. Oh, you would score so well, probably at, I don't know, what's a college we can make fun of? UNC, maybe? Is that
good? Let's see who drafts. Who do they draft? I guess they draft not Clemson players. Maybe Auburn. You'd score well at Auburn.
Okay.
Yeah. There you go. Or maybe you never know, like University of Wisconsin at Madison, that might play well. People might not know that much.
I think it's the opposite. At the University of Wisconsin Madison, there's like, yeah, so's my cousin.
Yeah, right. It also doesn't work out too well if they're like, yeah, my cousin plays for the Packers. We know. Why? Because all we have are 6'8" linemen that then end up on the Packers through the practice squad. That's what happens.
We grow them in the fields.
Yep, cheese and wheat, man. That's all Wisconsin has.
Nebraska gently weeps just while thinking about what their reputation could have been if they had stayed in the Big 12. Oh, well.
If they would have stayed in the Big 12 and if they became a big dairy producing state, I think they'd be all right.
That's all that soy they're growing in Nebraska.
Exactly. Now. That's the problem.
Replace the soy with cheese.
That's right.
We're on to something, fellas.
You gotta replace that plant estrogen with animal estrogen.
That's the reason why, when they were corn-fed Nebraska boys, they were making the NFL left and right, but now they're all on soy. And that's why the good old Southern boys are getting their chance now.
What is man, I'm trying to remember. What is that right-wing activist? Her name is Claire. She's trans.
I refuse to learn. Oh, Blair White.
Blair White. There we go. I'm now just picturing Blair White talking about plant estrogen versus animal estrogen, just being a huge purist about that. That is fucking delightful to me. Just that's a conversation we, the four of us, should definitely wade into. That's the important thing.
Clearly, we are the experts to dissect the problematic aspects of the internalized trans misogyny of Blair White.
Precisely. I think we'll just stick with the thing that it looks like all of us are built for, which is partial ownership of the Green Bay Packers.
wearing my green and yellow right now.
Yeah, and I'm way too overweight, so that's perfect for the ownership scheme.
I have no idea what all those cheeseheads are about. Yeah, that does sound pretty good though. So what was that? The cheddar bacon wrap burger, Tread? Is that the Wisconsin favorite item? I think we can pitch it to them.
I don't remember if Culver's is a Minnesota or a Michigan thing, but I'll go live in whatever state has Culver's. All right, so we're on what, October 7th
October
now?
7th now, yeah. So surprise, surprise, wouldn't you know it, wide receiver Corey Davis tests positive. A wide receiver after the other wide receivers tested positive. You might have actually lucked out, by the way, Gabe, that A.J. Brown being injured means he doesn't then get COVID.
A.J. Brown's the only one wearing a mask.
Yeah.
A.J. Brown's like, what the fuck is wrong with all of you? I'm too... I'm a rookie contract. I'm on a rookie contract. You can't get me sick.
Yeah.
I need out of here. So bad. Now the other note is that this is when cornerback Stephen Gilmore of the Patriots.
Stephon
Gilmore of the Patriots test positive, and that's also when I think the photo started to circulate, right? That of him being inches away from Mahomes' face. An Operation Pink Pony. For anyone unfamiliar, that's the term for Bill Belichick sinking other teams through nefarious means. There we go. Yeah.
I mean, typically he does it by sending his other coaches there, right? But this is just direct.
He's like, I can't get rid of Andy Reid. I can't send in some coach to ruin the Chiefs, so I gotta take a more linear route. I can't bob them up.
So mad if eventually, like, Mahomes passes for like 500 yards, throws for 7 touchdowns, does some insane performance, then it turns out he has corona, because that's going to become like his Jordan with the flu game that like all Chudley sports fans are going to be talking about.
Can you imagine how many people are like, look, Mahomes, he did this fine. You don't got to worry about it. Not even like a cold. He's just out there passing. Yards.
Why are Kansas City fans from New England?
Look, I can't. All right, give me a second.
Hey, have you met a Kansas City fan that's from Kansas City?
Yeah, I was about to say, have you met anyone from Missouri?
One, and that was enough for me.
Because
I haven't met anyone from Missouri. I have met several people from Missouri.
I'm from Missouri. Yeah. Look at that Patty Mahomes. He's just going to keep throwing yards. Corona is a hoax. Clearly, Patty Mahomes made it.
An accent so thick you just know that there's some slavery associated with it.
Yeah. Wait, why are you talking about my granddaddy Archibald that way? He might have owned a few slaves, but wasn't that many.
He couldn't afford slaves. That was the problem.
Yeah, we were working class. We couldn't afford to enslave our fellow human beings.
Performative abolitionist, that would be great.
So the Titans aren't reopening their facilities, sounds like.
No, they're not. So it's weird how having 2 players test positive after 2 positive free days, how's that going to happen? Almost like there is like this long-term incubation period of some sort. If only someone had mentioned that to them beforehand. So we'll see. This is when people start the rumors. Okay, well, I guess that means the Bills game is in jeopardy. What are we going to do? And then the Patriots now having 3 players with positive tests say that they're going to work remotely. I love the story about Stephon Gilmore, though, about how they didn't know whether or not he actually had COVID or not, so they had him fly in a separate plane, which sounds good until you realize that that plane was also filled with people.
Filled with people. With people.
So they had the haves and the have-nots, essentially. People who, like, yeah, you might have coronavirus or you came into contact with them. But,
you are expendable. You will fly on the plane with Stephon. You will be my offering to the Dark Ones.
Well, here's my question.
Turns out that they actually threw him in cargo. It's like,
they
not
bagged
only you
him.
flying on another plane, but you're going to fly cargo.
It's Con Air. It's Con Air with the mask. I don't know. Can you imagine if you have a bad game? Now, Bill Belichick gets frustrated at you. He has you fly back on Stephon Gilmore's plane after riding in the other spot. It'd be great. It'd be great. So,
make all those Pats players who opted out look real good now.
Yeah. Oh my God! Can we just talk about for a second the fact the opt-out players? Like a lot of people are like Damian Williams for the Chiefs. Was like, oh, like he saw the writing on the wall. He's like, I'm gonna get replaced by a rookie. The rookie's going to look better than me. This is going to be a 6-game season anyways. We're going to have some weird stuff going on. I'm just going to take the half check to sit.
Yeah, exactly.
And we're going to call it a day. I'm going to accrue a year. And then some other team that remembers me from my Super Bowl appearance will sign me to a contract that's way too high.
Yeah, yeah. I can't wait. You hear that? Chicago Bears looking to replace Tariq Cohen. Well, actually, I'm sorry. Tariq Cohen just signed an extension before
looking to
blowing
replace
out his leg. Yeah.
Looking to replace David Montgomery.
Oh well. We'll see. So, the Chiefs received no positive test on Wednesday. So they're actually able to then practice against the Raiders.
I'm sure that they won't ever get any positive tests.
No, definitely not. That'd be a crazy thing to have developing here. So then we are on the last day. Finally, the longest night, so to speak, as it is. We're taken to this morning, which is where another positive Titans test. Surprise, surprise from everyone. And so the Titans facility has remained closed. And that's then when people are talking about how, well, looks like the game is going to be moved to Monday or Tuesday. Thankfully, we now know exactly what happened with the Bills being moved to Tuesday and the Patriots being moved to Monday. And it's just absolutely wild.
And then the Thursday night game that was the Bills-Chiefs is now tentatively moved to Sunday.
So no Thursday night football. You hear that, everyone? That's right. Truly a magical moment.
It's going to be great. Going to be great for your fantasy. So here's what I love about this, though, is okay. So assuming there are no more Titans positive tests beginning tomorrow,
which there will be,
but let's just assume there isn't. So you need 5 days of no positive tests to reopen your facilities. Today's Thursday, so they already don't have one. But let's just say Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. That's 4 days. They will not get to practice or reopen their facilities before they have to play a game.
Yep.
They're putting in all their backup players. Like, there's no way they're trying to win. They're trying to win on Tuesday night.
No, they're playing against the Bills too, which is Josh Allen apparently just every game chooses between 2 vials, one labeled ketamine and one labeled cocaine. And either one that way it works.
Well, he takes too much of one, so he overcompensates with the other, you see.
Right.
And it's all going to go well until he ODs in week 9. Oh, well. Man, okay.
So what should happen, guys? Like, what I mean, what's going to happen now?
You know, I really think that maybe, just maybe, the NFL should look into pressing pause. You know, like let's try and make sure that maybe we have no tests for, hear me out, 2 straight weeks, almost like a 2-week quarantine of sorts, and then and then once you figure out what players are in fact testing positive and are getting it, then you extend it out even further. So you put a pause on the season. I don't know, probably that would need to be for like 4 to 6 weeks or so until you're able to know exactly what the protocols are. But I'm just a simple country lawyer from Missouri, so I don't know anything. What do
It'll
y'all
be a
think?
cold day in hell before I recognize Missouri.
Folks.
Oh no! Oh no! Oh, well, I'm sure this will be incredibly wholesome and not at all scarring.
Simple. We let them play. We let them play. Otherwise, we have to start giving back the TV deals to Amazon Prime for those Thursday night games. Already, the bills being pushed off Thursday night is cutting into our bottom line. We can't afford anything more.
I mean, I just don't like. I just
Thank you. By the way, what was the demon's name? Apologies.
Beelzebub.
Okay, thank you to BM Zabu, our special correspondent into the ethereal dark realm. It's always, as always, just amazing reporting, so concise.
I just like what I don't get is I know early on when they were talking about the season, they were talking about half of the teams playing one week and the other half of the teams playing the next week.
Mm-hmm.
So theoretically, you'd have up to 14 days between games for each team, and theoretically, you could start catching any of these outbreaks. But they're like, man, we got to have the Super Bowl in February, so that means we got to play all 16 games.
Also, we can't do that because then we'd have to start seriously considering not doing Monday night games or Thursday night games because those provide weird, issues with the 2-week schedule. So, we already promised all these TV deals, and honestly, we're kind of feeling that sweat. So you're just going to play.
It's almost like those TV deals are some weird thing that is the thing keeping the NFL afloat through all of this. Just like the TV deals are probably putting pressure on the NFL themselves, because if the NFL and live sports go away, what's going to make people want to keep watching cable packages or anything else? Like,
I would cancel my cable package right away because that's literally the only thing I have it for is to watch live sports.
Yeah.
I promise you, the cable package I pay for, I would cancel immediately.
Oh, yes, absolutely. No, I unfortunately, in my apartment complex, cable comes already installed with it, and I'm just like, all right, fine, cool. That gives me the login codes to NFL Network and ESPN that I watch on my phone or stream to the TV. I don't watch this pointless bullshit anyways. But
I have an even more long picture recommendation for the NFL.
Go for it.
So, we're talking like we should press pause. We should see what's going on. We should do these staggered schedules. I think we have to talk about something even more drastic because the NFL isn't going to press pause. The NFL isn't going to do smart things. They're going to do patch fixes over and over again. We just heard from the Demon correspondent, there's no chance they're going to sacrifice those TV deals. We got to start talking about planning for an NFL draft lottery.
Oh, no.
And bear with me.
Oh, God.
We have so many 0-4 teams or 0-3-1 teams, or I guess we don't have any of those, but we have bad teams. We got bad teams. And we're not going to get a full season to shake out the normal setup of, okay, opponent's record is this. We can put this person in the first. This person tanked the most.
Yeah.
We're going to get a lot of ties, which means the NFL should institute an NFL draft lottery.
I am
we gotta find out who gets
board, sir.
Yeah, we got to find out who gets Trevor Lawrence out of a set of fucking rotating balls.
As someone who cares about Trevor Lawrence entirely just for his fantasy value, and I don't care what team he's going to be going for, especially since it seems like Dabo Swinney is openly saying he's going to leave Clemson to take the Texans job so he can go back with Deshaun Watson. Just wild shit across the board. Yeah.
So here's what I suggest. I don't want a lottery. I want the NFL Skills Challenge back. So you take all of the teams who finish the worst in the league, you put up their receivers, their quarterbacks, their running backs, their linebackers, whatever, and you put them through the skills challenge. You win the skills challenge, you get first pick.
See, I thought
That's just going to mean that the Texans get first pick. Because the Texans, of the 0-4 teams, the Texans have the best quarterback.
Excuse me, Dredd. That means that the Dolphins get the first pick, sir.
the Dolphins aren't 0-4.
But they have the Texans as first round pick.
Oh, no! Jesus Christ! Deshaun Watson slinging it out there. Ryan Fitzpatrick's
good.
So
good.
then because they have that first pick, you just sandbag it year after year. Make sure that pick never comes true.
I'm not even joking though. Like seriously, at this point, like what are the fucking chances we actually get a full season? Like I believe we'll get a completed season. I just don't think it'll be a full season.
Yeah.
I mean,
I think a tie
8
at this
weeks.
point makes sense.
That was my initial prediction at the beginning of the season was 8 weeks. Now that I'm seeing how insane, I mean, I always knew the NFL was insanely stubborn and selfish, but like now that I'm seeing like how insanely stubborn and selfish they are.
I said a full season, but we won't know any of the starters by the end because they're all XFL or CFL players, and I was mocked for it.
I think we can make it to 10 weeks, and then I think the schedule, like at that point, like there's no software in the world that will fix the scheduling problem.
Yeah, I'm going to say we get it to 10 weeks as well, but I think we're going to get to 10 weeks and 5 teams will have played 6 games.
Oh,
Yeah.
God, yeah.
I agree with that. Yeah.
And so that's the thing is we're not going to have equitable records to look at. We're not going to have, okay, this person's 0-6, this person, we're going to have somebody's 0-6, somebody's 0-5. Which is a better winning percentage, 0-6 or 0-5?
Mm-hmm.
Technically, it's 0-6, but probably that 0-5 team would have lost that next one anyways. NFL draft lottery. Say it with me, folks. Draft lottery. Draft lottery.
Skills challenge.
Lottery. Draft lottery. Draft lottery. Everything.
Nah,
just
skills
embrace the
challenge. I
chaos.
want a skills challenge. You got to earn that draft pick. And also,
Yep.
the skills challenge fucking ruled. Like, I don't care what anybody has to say.
I think skills challenge for like other things, but I really want to see teams that have traded their first round picks away just be sad.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, that definitely won't hurt me deep inside for the next 3 years. So everything's fucked. I do. Well, what about this? What about this, Gabe? What about you do a draft lottery? Okay, so I'm sorry, but playoff seeding, because we would have the same problem on the other end. Playoff seeding is determined by skills challenge. That then creates motivation.
All right, that's fine. I mean, I just want the skills challenge back. Like, however we get it, like, any way that I can leverage the skills challenge coming back is what I want to see.
Good deal. Good deal. I would love to have someone write up that story, by the way, about how no one really believed it, but then when journeyman quarterback Tyler Thigpen came back into the NFL because he was one of the top 100 quarterbacks, but one of the top 10 healthy quarterbacks to finish this season. He had an all-pro year, and so he's taking the number 2 rated. I have no fucking clue what the injuries or COVID would look like.
I assume it's going to be. I'm calling it now. If we play a full season, even where some teams don't make it all the way to the end, I'm predicting it now. Jets win the Super Bowl.
It makes so much sense. They already have so much experience playing without NFL players, so they're ready.
Exactly.
They still have Adam Gase. Here's the thing.
Think about it this
Adam
way.
Gase's starters were losing to the defensive backups on the practice squad. Like,
Can you
like-
imagine, by the way, if Adam Gase, he gets fired and then like 9 COVID tests come in positive, and he's like, oh, I guess it's not so bad if I keep players contained. Huh? Is it?
Look, I'm going to say this right now. I'd rather have Bill Belichick with an XFL team than Adam Gase with an NFL team.
Yeah, Bill Belichick with an XFL team scares me because I know he doesn't care about their safety. They are literally just pawns.
They're
to him.
disposable.
He's
Yeah, I
gonna
think
put
I-
jerseys on saying "Not Tom Brady" on the back of each of them.
Oh my God.
Well, I think that's a good note to go ahead and try and end things on here. So thank you to everyone for checking us out. I encourage everyone to come back next week. We're going to have another separate topic. Who knows? Could be a little more interesting, could be a little less interesting. We will see. We'll just keep you posted about it. If you want to know what it is, though, follow us on Twitter. Follow us everywhere at Sports Change Us, because again, taking those new fancy URLs. And what have we got else to plug? What's going on, y'all?
I can go first.
Yeah, go for
Yep.
it.
So I have no projects to plug right now, but what I will say is, as I say basically every week, is we are going to the cold months. There's not another stimulus coming, and housing insecure people are more vulnerable than any of us for both COVID and for exposure-related deaths. Talk to your local shelter, see if they need blankets or anything else. And if you can do food aid in any way, shape, or form, find an organization doing food aid. I strongly recommend, if you are, for example, immunocompromised or something else, doing pre-packaged food aid, and you just make up sandwiches ahead of time and drop them off, and it'll make a big difference.
Hell yeah. That's important. That is good. Gabe, Mitchell?
Find me on all the things that you find me on every week.
Yeah. And Mitchell, as always.
Oh man,
bring
what do you
home.
want? What do you want me to sell? I mean, I had 3 different people ask me for favors today, and I did all 3 things out of just the kindness of my heart. So
That's right.
let's
Find
just all be
Mitchell
nice
on
to
the
each other
Favor
right now.
app,
Yeah, on the
available.
favor. Like if you just need someone to ask something for, like I'm here.
That's right. That's right. I'd be like,
Rack
hey, so where can I find the best shovel for burying a body? Huh? Any good Groupon
Look, I will
deals
come
going on there?
bury the body for you. Or I'll at least dig the hole.
Okay.
You got to do the rest. I'll dig the hole though.
A true gentleman
Yeah,
and a scholar, sir.
I'll dig the hole. You provide the body.
I'm more of a hydrofluoric acid guy. Kind
Oh,
of
I
thing.
see. I see. The different schools of thought that are starting to emerge on it. Well, all right, y'all. It has been a blast. Let's go ahead and say goodbye.
All right. Peace out.